everyone, welcome to another Power Talk with Archana. Today we are talking about gender diversity. A very dear friend, Melissa Griffiths, is joining me over this conversation. Melissa has been a part of my network and based in Australia. A transgender, she's a media personality and a recipient of several awards for her commendable work in the areas of organizational gender diversity. She's written for The Guardian, has appeared on several publications, a keynote speaker. She has been working on gender identity policies in Australia. The winner of Australian Day Award, she has been the finalist for several other awards. Her journey has been more than inspiring. She's omnipresent. Let's speak to Melissa and find out more about her journey, her vision, and her effort to bridge this gap. Let's welcome a very dear friend, Melissa Griffith. Hello, Melissa. How are you doing today?
Good, Archiana. How are you doing?
So you have done a lot. You've done a lot right from day one. You've really tried to bridge the gap between the transgenders and the society at large. Tell us your journey. We would want to know, my audience would want to know, how has this journey been? I'm sure this has not been very easy on you and the people around you. Would you like to share a few thoughts on this?
I think with a lot of trans females like myself that transition at an older age rather than a lot that there are a lot more now that obviously transition at a younger age, and it's a lot easier. I guess growing up, well, for me, there was no internet. There's no understanding of why you have feelings about that you identify as a female rather than a boy. So, going back to the 70s and 80s when I was growing up, obviously no such thing as the internet or social media, and probably transgenders probably were around in New Zealand, but I wouldn't have even heard of the term growing up. So it was sort of a very tricky childhood growing up, sort of having those feelings and then trying to bury them because all your friends are straight males playing rugby or rugby league or whatever sport they're playing, so you try and bury those feelings, but they do come back and you can never get rid of them. Then, as an adult, you start dressing again, like you dress a bit as a teenager like I did, but then you try to bury it. But coming to Melbourne, I could start exploring my true self away from family and friends and start going out, even though I was only really living part-time, to start being my true self and exploring my feminine side more and more. And it's just like a journey anyone goes through, with even if they're a cisgender female, just exploring themselves, figuring out who they are. And it wasn't until my mid-40s when I sort of realised, with my dad dying of cancer in hospital, that life is short, so why hide my true self from people? And after I transitioned, people said, I always thought there was something funny about you, like you were hiding something. So whilst you're living part-time, you're hiding your true self from others. So. And once I came out, it felt so much better, and it was a bit stressful changing all of your documents over. That's quite a bit of a process. So luckily I can change my name here in Victoria, even though I'm not born here. So, but funnily enough, I've still got my gender as male on it, even though my Australian passport has got my gender as female. So there's still a few issues there. Interesting. Hopefully that'll change over time. And then just through my journey, I started just trying to make it easier for other trans people. I was a member of a few racing clubs, so I just approached like the Victoria Racing Club to have gender identity in their vision and values and have some policies around that. So I worked with someone on that, and they did it really quickly. And they also trained the staff, which surprised me. So about a month before I sort of left work to take time off, I went to the races there as Melissa, and they were really welcoming me, and the catering company had been trained as well, which was really surprising. So it was a good experience. So I guess from that, after doing a bit of coaching and things like that, just working on myself as well, I started writing in the media in 2017 and online, and it just sort of fell into place and built up my LinkedIn profile and started trying to make it a bit easier for trans people and speaking where I could. And there's times like you feel like giving up, like especially this year, just feel like really flat, and but like the universe finds you a song like Never Give Up found on YouTube, stumbled across it one day, one of those days feeling flat. So I always have that in the back of my mind because you've got that radio station in the mind all the time. You feel like you're not really getting anywhere or changing anything at times, or things are standing still in your life, but they're not. So I just encourage people when you're going through those times, it's okay to stand still for a moment, and eventually it will happen. So same with me, I just got to keep plugging away, and haven't spoken all year for obvious reasons with the pandemic, but hopefully next year when stage events are back on the play again, I can start doing a bit of speaking again. So.
It did bring in a lot of pain along with it. Tell me one thing. Tell me, you have done a lot of work in the areas of helping organization, with the transitional journey of employees, for the employees to transition. How does that happen? I mean, what all you have done?
Well, I've done some consulting with a few companies on that sort of work, transgender issues, but also it's just mentoring people who are in organisations about the right way to go about things and supporting them. So a lot of that's just behind the scenes, or even from remember being away in Sydney one time, going up for the LGBTI awards for employers and speaking to someone, just helping them, working them through their issues in terms of telling their employer and so forth, and just supporting them. So it's just a lot of that stuff behind the scenes. And I've talked to someone now on a morning tea break. Someone's rung me from Wales, a messenger, and their husband or ex-husband's having trouble with their system in Wales. So just talking to them and then finding resources for them through my contacts in England to help them in Wales, to help their ex-husband. So it's just doing those things behind the scenes that no one really sees, but that sort of helps people, and that's just as important. And been on the steering committee at work for a while for LGBTI issues. So and then obviously as changing that to LGBTIQA+, recognising non-binary people as well and queer people. So it's just doing those things. It's not always necessarily a paid thing, or it's just something that people necessarily see. It's just talking to people as well, just supporting them that way. And then just speaking at events where I can, like I spoke at the National Employment Solutions Conference, just educating people that were there about how to deal with someone that transitions from male to female in the workplace. So just around having common sense and treating them like an adult, and proper pronouns, and trying to make sure it's not made such a big deal, so that life goes on, the workplace goes on without too much disruption or gossip or innuendo.
Yeah, I feel it's all about the skills that you have. It's about what you can bring to the table. And you are there in any organization for the skills that you have. What you can contribute in the success and the growth of the organization is what I think should be of utmost importance and relevance for any organization, and even for the people who come in that organization to work, the peers, the colleagues. I think that is the only thing that has to be of importance to anyone and anyone's business, actually. Great.
Yeah.
Melissa, tell me one thing. I'm sure the way things started to where they are today, I'm sure you have seen a change in the way people have started reacting. People have been, I think, more warm. They are more welcoming to this change. And I feel that people have started embracing the fact that, gender identity needs to be respected. I think there is a lot of change in the society today. Do you see that change coming? Do you see that change today?
There is some change today in society, but I think it's probably going to take another 10, 20 years for society to change in Australia, their attitudes towards trans people. And I've still copped a bit of abuse this year and last year. So there's still some elements of society that don't get it. And obviously I followed it a bit in India about trans people being employed at train stations and that. So that's slowly changing in India, but I think it'll just take time, especially with the pandemic. So people sort of won't focus on diversity and inclusion, unfortunately, much for a little while. But eventually they'll change again, but we've just got to be patient and things will eventually change, so it won't be such a big deal or much of a deal as it is now or in the past. And like there still has been some great things moved forward, like in Victoria you can change your name, change your gender I should say on your birth certificate without having gender reassignment surgery, so that's great for those that are born in Victoria. I'm not, so I can't do that, but it's great for those in Victoria that have been if they want to do that. So there have been some good positive changes. So.
Yeah. Right, Melissa. I think you are quite right there. There is we can see a lot of change indeed, but I'm sure we are looking for more and more change to come for people to embrace transgenders. Melissa, tell me one thing. What message would you like to give to people today? What is that one thing that you would like people to hear straight from your heart?
I think if you can just look past the person and recognize just because they look different to you, they look more masculine than feminine, but they're dressed as a female wearing makeup. And if they're transgender, that they're a person too, they have feelings too, and that think twice before having a go at them, or just think about it, what it would be like if you were living my life, how hard it is can be sometimes, how you can lose friends and family and often feel alone. So just remember that, and obviously continue to strive for whatever your purpose is, whoever you are in the world. You're given a dream for a reason, a vision for a reason, and sometimes that can take 10, 20 years to achieve. So just be patient and be still, and it'll happen eventually.
Any message you would like to give to the families of transgenders? How do you look forward to their support? Do you think there is a lag there? Do you think families need to come forward and embrace the fact that there is a member in the family who may be a bit different but still a very, very relevant and an important part of the family? Do you see anything to change there?
I think still some families don't embrace their people in their family that are transgender, so they reject them or kick them out. So my hope is in 10, 20 years time that will change, and that you're always going to get families that are going to reject someone because of who they are, but eventually hopefully that will be a very, very small minority in the future rather than perhaps more of a majority at the moment. Perhaps it could be in society. I think a lot of families do support someone in their family that's transgender, but there's still obviously some that may not. So hopefully that'll change, but just recognise that they've still got feelings. They're still the same person just because they're transgender. Probably won't change their interests too much. If they're into gaming, they're still probably going to be into gaming if they're transgender female. They might change, but generally I find they don't if that's their interest. So they're still sort of have the same interest. They're just living as their true self.
Melissa, tell me one thing. What is your vision going forward? We know where we are in the pandemic stage at the moment, but going forward, what is your vision? What is it that you want to do more for transgenders? What is it that you want to do for them?
I guess be more of a voice for them. If I can get back speaking on stage again, if I can do a bit of modelling work or even TV work, just break down those barriers where we're not really seen by society, I don't think. So that's half the problem. Society knows we're there, but we're not really seen in the mainstream too much. Like there are a few. Obviously, there are some transgender models around the world. So, and obviously Andrea here, obviously, is an example, but yeah, it's too far between those that are doing that sort of stuff. So it can be more of a voice and just break down those barriers. Do a bit of regular TV presenting work, or if it's doing modelling work on a runway, more speaking, just to help people understand we exist with people too. Not every trans person wants to be visible, but if people can see someone like me just being me and a person and just doing good things and that has talents, then hopefully that'll change society's perspective of us.
Yeah, I think this is really beautiful what you mentioned, Not all transgenders would like to make a public appearance, and what you are doing from your end to make it happen for them, to make them understand it's absolutely all right to be a part of the society, to come in open and talk about yourself and be a part of everyone, because you are an important part of the whole. I think that is something really important, is what you're trying to bring forward for all the transgenders, the entire community to understand and embrace. I think that is really wonderful.
Mm,
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks a lot for speaking to us. I really appreciate your time
mm,
and for you to come forward and speak to us in the open
mm,
about what you feel about
mm,
this very
mm,
sensitive area. I think it's time we all step forward and talk about it in open, because this is something, I think it's something really, really
mm.
important, something that we
Yeah.
all need to understand and embrace. I really, really praise you, give all my love and support to you. I completely support you here. My best wishes to you, and please stay in touch with us. Have a wonderful life ahead, and let's all come together and do our bit, whatever we can, to create a space for
Mm,
all of us. After all, it's our own world. It's Mother Earth, and it is for everyone, each one of us, to make their contribution.
yeah.
Thanks a lot, Melissa. Thanks a lot for speaking to us. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Melissa.
That's all right. Thanks. Have a nice day. It's only
This was Melissa Griffith for you. What an inspiring journey. A visionary and a very progressive transgender. It's time for all of us to make our society more and more inclusive and respect the gender identity. I hope this really inspires you, wakes you up to take that step forward now and create a world for everyone to be happy in, to feel secure, to feel safe, to feel valued. I hope this really inspires you. Stay tuned for more.